We're talking with Mike Fitzpatrick, author of Machining and CNC Technology, updated version just recently released. Mike, give us some of the differences between your new book and those that are on the market already.
Sure, and there really is a difference. But before we started to write this book, we asked the question, do we need a new CNC book, a new machining book? And we started with a focus group all over the United States, industry leaders, instructors, people that were able to provide an opinion. And what we found was that there had been a big change in technology, a true paradigm shift. The textbooks of the day, when we were planning this one out, were devoted to CNC as an advanced subject at the back of the chapter, or back of the textbook. And of all the textbooks we looked at, good textbooks, a lot of people have learned on those books, but of the ones that devoted the most to CNC, 17% of its pages, and it was in general description of CNC, it wasn't on how to do it. This book goes at it with the idea that you live in a CNC world, that CNC is the mainstream part of our trade, and chances are you're going to run a CNC machine after your training. So it's integrated from page 1 through the final chapter that we also explain it like my lab. I have manual machinery because first of all it's paid for, it's a training station, it's a good place to learn operations and setups and safety, but it's not a job skill as much as it is training for the CNC equipment. So when you're in the milling chapter in here, you're talking about the differences in CNC and manual milling, or manual machining on a lathe and CNC threading on a CNC mill. So basically this is a book that represents the paradigm shift. It's a book that's right up to date, and it's a how to do it book on CNC. There are chapters on how to set one up, there's a chapter on how to load the tools, there's a chapter on how to operate the machine while it's running. So that's the main difference. This book is on this side of the paradigm shift.
And what about the features for the student? What does this book hold for them?
Yeah, there's a lot of things for the student that's new. We looked into what are the best practices today, and we studied how people read technical materials. So the first thing, I guess what I'd like you people to know is that I served a lot of apprenticeship. I served a machinist apprenticeship at Kenworth Trucks, and then I went to Boeing and served a tool and die maker's apprenticeship. So I have 6 years of trade information given me by a whole bunch of journeymen. And it's not like I own that material. They gave it to me to pass on. But I have a real deep knowledge. And so what I tried to do with every page and every chapter was I tried to come up with special features like this. There's trade tips and shop talks and key points. And all they are is pace breakers, but they're like I can see Joe calling me over to the lathe and going, "Hey Fitz, come over here. Let me show you something." And I tried to pass on not just the formal knowledge of the trade, but like I'm their teacher in print, and I'm showing them some tips and tricks in the book. And students tell me that they like reading the book because it's an easy read. Tried very hard to do that. I tried to do it like first person.
Are there some other features for the students?
Oh yeah, the one thing I forgot to mention was in the back of the book there's a MasterCam, and right now the updated version has X4, which you will appreciate. The student can write a program right out of the textbook, and that program will go into your regular MasterCam, and he can make that, or she can make that object. This program is usable by the machine, but it has MasterCam right in the textbook, and it goes right into their laptop or right into their home computer. All right.
What have you done to help the instructor, the teachers out with this new book?
As I was writing this book, I'm thinking about that because I know that it's a tough sell. You've got a lot of information in a textbook, and students are not real big on reading these days. And there's 1,000 pages in the textbook. So what we have is we've got ancillary materials. This is the website for McGraw-Hill Higher Education, MHHE/Fitzpatrick. Loaded with all kinds of resources. There's PowerPoint programs, and I provided the PowerPoint programs for 2 reasons. One, it gives them an easy way to introduce the chapter to their students, but it kind of sets a sense of anticipation. It says this is chapter 16, and this is really important because, so it sets up the students' sense of anticipation for reading the material, but it also it enhances what's in the textbook. There's times when interactive questions and things moving and videos can teach better. So if you would go to the sample chapter here in the website and take a look, and you'll see what I mean. The PowerPoints go right with the textbook, and they teach better. There's also a 1,000 question test generator with open architecture, so that if you need to give a test, there are questions in the textbook, and I say they are a little more critical thinking, a little deeper. But if you need a grade and a hardwired test, the generator is in there with 1,000 preloaded questions. It's open architecture. You can add to those questions. You can change them to fit your shop. For example, if you need to talk about how do you lift safely in your shop. And the PowerPoints are open architecture as well. If you don't want to talk about lifting safely in the safety chapter in the PowerPoints, you can take a photograph of your crane and put it into the PowerPoint. So I tried very hard. I think I worked almost as hard on the teacher resources as I did on the textbook.
Well, thank you. And I understand that this book took you a long time to bring to birth, and we'd like to hear about that, but we're going to save that for another segment.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to be said about that.
Thank you.
Oh, good.